Are you ready to lead with confidence, tackle big challenges, and build a life on your own terms?
Now, welcome to Creating Waves, the podcast where we cut through the fluff and bring you real leadership strategies that transform every part of your world.
Whether you're managing a team or managing yourself, we'll show you how to step up and thrive, starting right now.
So hit that subscribe button and get ready to make waves in your career, relationships, and life.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to our podcast. This is Simon here, and sitting next to me is my favorite person, my partner in life, in work, and pretty much everything, Erlina.
All right, thanks, Simon. Well, hello everyone. We're coming to you from our home base, at least our current home base in sunny Mauritius, and it's been quite a week for us.
Yeah, it really has. We've been juggling some intense client sessions. We've been catching a few little waves. Yes, we've been surfing, and we tackled this crazy, beautiful hike last week, which left us freaking exhausted.
Yeah, it was insane. I think by the time we got back down, our legs felt like jelly. But the views were stunning, and it was worth all the effort every step of the way.
Absolutely worth it. And speaking of stepping into new territories, today's episode is all about how to create real change in our lives beyond just thinking positively. And if you caught our first episode, we basically had 5 proven steps to finally sticking to your goals in 2025. So this will really be the perfect follow-up to that episode.
Yeah, definitely. So let's really settle in now and talk about why thinking differently is just not enough. Because we both know that if simply thinking positively were the key, well, then most of us will have everything figured out by now, right?
Oh, for sure. Exactly. So let's dive in. Okay. So, Alina, I know you've been working with some clients this week who are looking to make really big changes in their personal and professional lives. Can you maybe share a bit about what you've been kind of seeing?
Yeah, sure, definitely. It's quite fascinating really because people often start out super pumped, thinking I'm going to change my life, they have all these wonderful, amazing, empowering and positive thoughts. But then usually a week or two passes and then they find themselves slipping back into certain old habits and patterns.
Yeah. I think we all kind of do that, right? We're all guilty of doing that. So, what do you think is going on there?
Mm, I think when I look at the patterns, right, we usually tend to focus on changing our thoughts. We are really fully really addressing our feelings. We don't realize that actually our thoughts create feelings and emotions, which drive our actions and ultimately create the results that we want or sometimes we don't want. So even if we are thinking empowering thoughts, but we feel stuck with the negative emotions like fear or doubt, then our actions tend to reflect that. Like no matter how many motivational quotes that we read or self-affirmations that we do, there's always some kind of internal conflict that prevents us from moving in a straight and direct manner.
Okay, so you're saying that if we don't shift that underlining emotions, our actions are likely to be half-hearted and we won't see the results that we want?
No, that's exactly what I'm suggesting here. That it's like trying to drive a car while constantly stepping on the brakes. So you'll still get to your destination in the end, but it won't be a smooth or quick journey, or you would probably take a lot more detours than needed. So because you don't get the results you expect quick enough, you start thinking that maybe I can't do it after all, or these positive thinking things don't work actually.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So something else that comes up an awful lot is the imposter syndrome. So even when people do manage to hit their goals, they might say, "Oh, that was just luck," or "I didn't really deserve this." Do you get that a lot? I get that a lot with my clients. I know that.
No, I think it's actually quite common imposter syndrome, especially since it's so easy now for us to compare our success to others, right? I've spoken to quite a few people this week who achieve like really big wins. Either they're closing very important deals or they're nailing big presentations. But instead of celebrating, they dismiss their own achievements and attribute it to luck instead of their own effort.
It's so, what's the right word? It's so counterproductive, isn't it? If you think, because they've done the work, they've got the results, yeah, they discredit their own success, really, if you think about it.
Yeah, and I think to some extent you can attribute it to culture, right? Some cultures, I mean, in a lot of cultures, being humble is a value, and humility in general is very important. But that doesn't mean that we should discount our efforts. I think this constant downplaying overrides their accomplishments, and they never get a chance to build genuine confidence. So remember,
Mm.
our feelings actually feed our future actions. So if we think our success is a one-off, we will always kind of hesitate, overthink, and avoid taking on big opportunities next time because you don't know if it's going to work for you again.
Oh, so true. And then the cycle continues, right? Like a negative feeling here or there can keep us from truly growing.
Yeah, it's a better way actually would be to just allow our successes to build our confidence, to do bigger and harder things.
Yeah. Okay. So you know that I think what's interesting is we also deal with these feelings in our own life, right?
I mean, totally. Like we've just been talking about it this week, isn't it? Like especially with everything
Yeah,
going
yeah.
on, like we're growing our business, we're working our clients, but also trying to make time for the things that we love, right? That's why we live here. But some days you wake up and think, can I really have it all?
Yeah, I know. For me, I get this like nagging voice that just keeps popping up. Like, can we really continue living this lifestyle? Should we be working harder or making more money? It's kind of constantly kind of there, just ticking away, which I think a lot of people have.
Mm-mm. I mean, and that's why I like and I love sharing this with our audience, right? That we're not just dishing out advice from an ivory tower, right? We're living this every day. I want people to know that, this is a process, this is a journey of managing doubts, facing challenges, and practicing the very methods that we teach and coach on.
Oh, exactly, exactly. And to me, that's kind of like the really authentic side of it, recognizing that we all feel fear or uncertainty, but we can choose, I guess, how we respond to those feelings.
Mm-mm-mm.
Um, yeah. So let's circle back to like the big idea, right? If it's not just about thinking differently, then what is it about exactly?
I know this might sound a little bit strange, but it's about learning to feel differently. Some people will say,
Okay.
"Oh, I want to be more confident," or "I want to be calmer." But I mean, you can say it, but that's not enough. You actually have to kind of feel it. It's very visceral. You have to feel it in your body.
Okay, right. You got to simplify. But how do we go about that, right? I think we could say it, but how do we actually go about that? How do we start to feel it in your body? Let's just
Mm,
say.
I think what's this like a common overlooked method is this tool it's called visualization, and I do it with a lot of my clients, and I mean, and you do too as well, Simon. But
Yeah, yeah.
um if you want to feel confident, the thing is, even if you don't know what confidence feel like, or you forget, most of the time we forget, all we need to do is remember a time you felt really confident, right? It could be a day where you crushed a really big meeting, or you had this amazing
Mm.
personal achievement, like maybe that moment where you caught your first wave surfing.
Yeah, yeah. I love that memory. It was like super terrifying at first, but once I caught that wave, I just remember there was this kind of surge of just like emotions of like, yeah, I'm doing it in triumph and yeah, and me just
Mm-mm.
probably screaming and swearing lots, loving
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's exactly the type of experiences that we want to be able to tap on. That moment, that particular moment, recalling it really vividly. The sound of the ocean that was happening. That adrenaline that you're feeling, the air, how your body
Mm-mm.
felt. When you re-experience that moment again in your mind just by visualizing it, you are igniting some new neural pathways that have made you feel confident in the past.
Yeah, that's so cool, right? And it's not just daydreaming, it's like training your mind and your body to align on that positive feeling that you were going through at that point.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. So now, once we tap into those emotions, how do we then ensure that it leads to actual changes in our behavior? Because that's the whole point of doing this, right? We want to change that behavior.
Yeah, yeah. So that's just one part of the visualizing process, really kind of connecting back to a moment where you felt a certain emotion that you want to have. So next, what you want to do is start to visualize the future goal that you want to achieve. So, I mean, a simple example is, let's say you have a big board presentation coming up and you want to be confident, right, when you're in that situation, when you're public speaking. So, picture yourself in a room delivering that impactful presentation. Recall what it's like to feel confident, like when you were catching that wave. And you want to keep practicing this every morning leading up to your actual presentation so that when your feelings start to line up with your thoughts, your actions become more natural and becomes more purposeful. So what will happen and you'll notice is that when this all this lines up, you'll start wanting to practice more and reading up on maybe certain tips on how to improve your presentations. You don't feel like you're forcing yourself to do the right thing. You're guided by a genuine sense of motivation and energy. And that's when your actions can really truly create the reality, which in this case, having that impactful presentation, really create the impact that you want.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I think when I feel like genuinely excited about a new project, I'm more likely to stay up late brainstorming or working on it rather than doing it sometimes, which I feel like it's out of obligation, and I freaking hate that.
No, exactly. I mean, you feel more purposeful, and that's the kind of the difference, right, between discipline driven by dread versus discipline fueled by enthusiasm. Both might produce results in the short term. That's why we have systems, and it's possible. But the latter is a way more sustainable way, to be driven by your enthusiasm to succeed.
Yeah, I love that part. So, for everyone kind of listening who's trying to break through old habits in 2025, right? What are some like really quick tips that you think can really help people?
I mean, it's this is the tips are easy, but it's a practice that is sometimes that
Mm-mm.
we don't put enough energy on. So let's do a quick recap. So listeners, if you want to, I think I invite you to write this down on paper so you can practice it immediately after this podcast. First of all, identify the feeling that you want more of. So, like I gave the example earlier, usually people want to feel more confident or you want to feel calm in the face of stress and chaos. Next, imagine a new scenario in detail. So, imagine yourself in that new scenario where you're confident giving that speech, where you are calm when you are under pressure. So imagine that in detail and then recall that feeling of confidence and calmness. So practice that daily, even if it's just a minute or two, bringing that new scenario in your mind and feeling that sense of confidence and calmness in those scenarios. Now, it is very normal that there could be doubts that come up in this process for you. So acknowledge those doubts, right, when they surface. Don't bury them necessarily, but also don't allow them to run the show. Just acknowledge that these are your normal tendencies coming up to the surface because it's natural and it's been their operating model for a really long time. And lastly, remember to celebrate the small wins. If you had a day where you stuck to your practice or you spoke up in a meeting, acknowledge that. Let it reinforce the feeling that you can actually create new habits that create change.
Yeah. I love the last one there, like celebrating those small wins. I think it's something that we always do in this household, right? Even after that crazy hike last week, we kind of gave ourselves a pat on the back and took a moment to kind of appreciate what we had just accomplished and having to walk down in the pitch darkness and being scared of all the spiders everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I mean, it was really difficult, right? We didn't just say that, oh, it was hard, but we also kind of congratulate ourselves. Wow, look at us, we did it. And I think that fuels our sense of capability and confidence. And actually, now I'm thinking about it, like, a few days later, and I think, oh, you know what? I don't mind doing that again. And I think I'll do it differently this time.
Yeah, no, we're definitely doing it again. We've got to go and watch the sunset again. So let's touch briefly on overcoming fear or imposter syndrome. Because beside practicing the positive feelings, is there a way to handle that nagging voice in the back of our heads that's always kind of there,
Mm,
just
mm, mm. Yeah, no, I mean
picking
that
up all
voice,
the
right?
time?
Yeah, that voice that comes out
Yeah,
every
yeah.
time. I find it useful to actually treat that voice like a passenger in your car. So you are in control. You can hear it, but you decide who's actually driving, and that's you, right? You're in the driver's seat. So if that voice says you're not good enough, you all you need to do is respond, I hear you, but I'm still moving forward in my direction. I'm still moving forward with the plan.
Hmm. That's like a perfect knowledge analogy. It's not about erasing fear because I think that's kind of impossible. It's always going to kind of be there, but rather not letting it dictate the things that you do in your life.
Yeah, no, definitely. It is kind of a partnership, right? Fear is not all bad. In fact, fear keeps us safe, right? That's the main purpose of fear. You and your fear can coexist, but you make the final call.
No, that's so
Right.
true. That's so true.
So, I mean, having said that, right, let's do overall recap again, right? I think what we want you to take away, listeners, from this whole podcast is that thinking alone isn't enough. In order for there to be a genuine transformation, our feelings must align to how we're thinking, which is often the challenge for most people. Always remember that there is a certain chain reaction process, and that is our thoughts will create our feelings, and our feelings are what drive the actions, and the actions is what ultimately create your results. So this is an important chain reaction to be aware of, so that when you understand this, you can start to change how you think. Next, imposter syndrome is something that's always going to sneak up on us, especially if you're someone who desires growth. You want to perform, you want to do things, you want to achieve things. These feelings are going to come up every now and then, and they will try to deny us the victory we've already earned. But the key thing is to acknowledge it, recognize it, but don't let it dictate you and what you want to do. Another thing is to remember is visualization is the main tool to bridge the gap between logic and emotion. So the more you rehearse the feeling, the more you'll be able to cultivate the actions that you need, the behaviors that you need to actually achieve the impact that you want. And lastly, very similarly, even if you don't have imposter syndrome, there could be a lot of other negative voices that could come up in the process of you trying to change. You're in your transformation journey. It's very normal to have self-doubt, your voice telling you that, hey, you're not good enough, or it's not worth it, or like, don't waste your time. Acknowledge those voices, but don't let them steer your car. Remember that you are the driver of your own car. And we're living proof that life doesn't magically stop challenging you, right? Just because you know these principles. But having these tools help us navigate obstacles, be it, very demanding client work or the next big hike that we are tackling, right? Without losing our motivation, our sense of purpose, or not giving in to fear simply because it feels difficult.
Oh, absolutely. So thank you all for joining us today. Okay. We love opening up our window into our week, the surfing, the hikes, our client work, and really showing you how we blend that with mindset strategies for real change.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, thank you for spending this time with us. If there's a feeling that you want to cultivate this year or a fear that you're wrestling with, like just drop us a comment or a message. We'd love to hear from you and really cheer you on.
No, definitely. Or any ideas you want us to talk about in this pod, we'd love to hear from you. So until next time, keep practicing those positive feelings, stay true to your goals, and remember, real transformation happens when thoughts and feelings join force. Take care, everyone. Bye
Take
bye.
care, everyone. See you.